person that's going to be successful at this business needs to learn what to bid and why.
Hey, thanks a lot for joining us for this question and answer series all about tax deeds for sales. Now, the questions, they all came from you guys. And the answers, it's going to come from this guy right here. This is Ted Thomas, of course, who is the authority on such matters as tax deeds. Ted, good to see you. Your crew picked out, they went through all the social media out there. They went through Google, Bing, picked out a lot of great questions. Are you ready to go?
YouTube. Don't forget YouTube.
Oh, it's YouTube too. I mean, they're from all over the place. Are you ready for question number one, Ted?
Go for it.
All right, question number one. This comes from Susie, and this is she was on YouTube. And she wants to know, just, can you explain what a tax deed is, just so I, don't get confused?
Okay, well, a tax deed is issued by a local county because a property owner defaulted on their taxes. So let's look at the system. The system is this. All properties in the United States that aren't owned by the government have a property tax. So that means everyone must pay the property tax. So the local counties track that. The local county has a authorization from the legislature through the Board of Supervisors that if someone doesn't pay the tax, they send them a notice and say, you must pay your tax. So that's called a private notice. They send those notices out, and sure enough, if the people don't pay the tax, they're going to levy the property. First they lien it, then they levy the property, and they're going to take the property away. So that whole process simply is called tax defaulted property. And what happens is the county now takes the property away from the individual, and they have a tax deed when they do that. All right, now the county doesn't want the property. The county just wants the taxes. So what the county then will do is they will advertise on the county website, and they'll advertise in the newspaper that they're going to sell that property. Now that's the key to the business, is when they sell that property, they sell it at a bargain price, and we'll get to that in just a minute.
Okay, well, that's what a tax deed is, folks. Thanks for answering that, Ted. Next question, this is from Linda. She was on Facebook, and she asks, how do tax deeds compare to traditional real estate investing? And I know you've done both.
Well, when you buy regular real estate, you got a broker to help you out, you got attorneys to help you out, you got everybody to help you, okay? When you're buying tax defaulted real estate, this is for entrepreneurs and people that are willing to take risks and be able to learn how to mitigate the risk. Now, there's a lot of risk in any kind of investment, but tax defaulted properties are used and abused. There's a big difference between regular real estate and tax defaulted real estate. Tax defaulted real estate is used and abused. It's sold by the county.
And it sounds like, Ted, you mentioned that with traditional real estate, you need to bring in lawyers and stuff like that. Maybe there isn't so many people you have to count on then if you're doing tax deeds. Is that correct?
It's a good answer, and thanks for helping me a lot with that, because you need to learn about tax defaulted real estate. It's not normal. It's only a very small part of the market. So let me give you an example. So I'm going to just hold it. This is just a big piece of paper I held up in front of my face. All right, well, that's the real estate market, okay? Okay, the tax lien and tax defaulted market is just this very narrow market right here. It's just a small niche of the market, and that's why I chose that market. It was a very narrow niche. I said, why don't I become an expert at that, and I can find out where to get good deals. I never realized when I started that there was 5,000 auctions every year. So this is a big business, and it has a lot of abundance involved in it.
Well, it sounds like it. Well, question number 3, Ted. This is coming from Jonah, and this is off Twitter. Jonah asks, how can I find tax deeds for sale in my area? How would I know if the auction is online or offline? So how would Jonah find tax deeds for sale in his area?
Okay, all right, so to find a property, first of all, the United States has 50 states, as we all know, but what's more important is that they have over 3,000 counties. All 3,000 plus counties can sell tax defaulted property. So number one, write that down. You find these properties at the county. So the county will have a list of those properties. The county will actually publish it on their website, and they'll publish it in a local newspaper when they're going to have an auction. So tax defaulted property, this is all done at the county level. All 3,000 plus counties will have tax defaulted auctions.
Curious, is it better to go to the online auction or go there in person if you have a choice?
auctions can be offline or they can be online. All right. When I started in the business, everything was offline. So you had to travel to that auction and be there and raise your hand. But the world has changed over the past 20 years, and each of the counties has slowly come online. And to my knowledge, they're all willing to sell property online. Now, whether they do or not is up to the county. All right, so the online auction requires a lot of diligence on the part of the buyer, as does the offline auction. But offline, people are familiar with. So in your local community, it's easy to drive to the property and check out the condition of it, check out the neighborhood, and so on. If you're going to do it online, you're going to have to learn how to do the same due diligence. By that I mean checking the property. So I don't know that either one is easy. One is easier than the other, but you can do both.
Okay, fair enough. Our next question, this is coming from Ted. Ted was on Facebook, and Ted asks, if I can't view the property myself, who can I hire to help view the properties for me? Good question, because it's coming up what we were just talking about. If you're buying online and you don't live in the same city.
I think when you say do it, I mean, you mean buy at the auction. Okay, so if you wanted to have someone else buy at the auction, and you're going to have, someone bid for you, that's one thing. But if you're going to buy online, you're going to have to hire someone to go to that property and take pictures of it and to review the property and to review the neighborhood. Now, what would logical people to do that? Obviously, you can hire brokers. We teach classes on this, but let me just give you a quick overview. You want to get local brokers to give you opinions, and they'll give you brokers' opinion regularly. They'll tell you about the property, they'll give you pictures of it and whatever. Now, keep in mind, the picture isn't going to show everything, but you get some idea. But you'd want to know the condition of the property. You'd also want to know the neighborhood. You'd also want to know, and you can do it yourself, go online and research the title. I mean, does it have any loans on the property? Does it have any liens? What are the encumbrances? What are the covenants? What are the easements and things like that? So you'd want to have someone check that property. The biggest mistake you can make is not looking at the property.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So broker's a good way of doing that. Are you ready to answer Josie's question, Ted?
I don't know if it's easy. Yes.
Well, it's all easy for you. Josie wrote us on Twitter, and her question is, how does the bidding process work for tax deed auctions?
Okay, how does the bidding process work for a tax deed auction? All right, now a deed auction means the county has confiscated the property. They're going to sell it at a number that they're going to choose that's going to be very close to the back taxes. So they're going to sell it at maybe 10 or 20 cents on the dollar. All right, so the auction starts at this very low price. All right, the auction will be sold. The winner of that auction, the winning bidder, will be whoever bids the highest. All right, so when the auction starts, it might start very low at 10 or 20 cents on the dollar, but it'll just continue up. So the bidding process means it's going to go to the highest bidder. Now, this is a public auction. It can be taking place online or it can take place offline.
Let me tell you, if you're there and you're bidding and such, how do you not get caught up in the whole, the bidding favor thing? Are there any tricks you can offer?
I don't have any tricks, but I'm going to tell you, bidding at an auction is something that requires thought. Now, I'm not so sure that everyone goes there. It has given it a lot of thought, because I've gone to a lot of auctions in 30 years and I see some horrendous mistakes. Now, I won't go through 45 mistakes right now, but I'm going to tell you, people make big mistakes. Person that's going to be successful at this business needs to learn what to bid and why. And they need to learn a lot of things like making sure that they looked at the condition and they've looked at the title report. However, when you get to an auction, we jokingly say, wear a white shirt and write your highest bid on your sleeve and then stop. But, I could tell someone to stop, but that's like putting a piece of chocolate cake in front of you and say, okay, you only get 2 bites. You don't stop. And people get excited at auctions, and that's why they have them. And those auctioneers, now, in the past, the auctioneers were always just county employees. When I would show up at the auction, it would be Gladys up on the 4th floor. She would come down and say, okay, we're going to have the auction. And she just wanted to get rid of the property so she could go back up on the 4th floor to her desk. Okay, but these auctioneers now, they're getting paid big bucks. I mean, they're going to get 10% of what they sell. So they're pushing the prices constantly up. All right, so if you don't have a plan and you haven't had training or you haven't had someone to discuss this with, or you don't know your exit strategy, I'm going to tell you right now, you better be careful at auctions.
Okay, exit strategy, and I know you've talked about that in the past, Ted. Got to always keep that in mind. Our next question, this is from Angela, and let's see, she was on YouTube, saw us on YouTube. Her question is, how can I determine if the property has a lien or mortgage on it before purchasing at a tax deed auction?
Well, you said, how can you do that? You better do that, because when you buy at the auction, this is not a reality TV or some joking matter. When you're buying from the county, you're making a deal with the government. And the deal you're making is you're going to give them cash and they're going to give you back a deed. And when you own that deed, you're responsible. So how you're going to do that is probably the most important thing that I could teach you, because if you buy, whatever you buy, you get. So if it's got a lien on the property, or it's got an encumbrance, or it's got some kind of difficulty, or has a defect in the title, all of those things are your responsibility. When you buy from the county, they sell as is, where is, and there is no refunds at these auctions. There is no refund. When you hand the money to them, I'm going to tell you they're going to keep the money. You're going to own that property. So you need to learn how to research, and that's not a laughing matter, and it's not anything that's difficult, but you need to research the property, the county records, to find out if there's any defects, and you need to research the condition of the property, and more importantly than the condition of the property, how about looking around the neighborhood? Look around, what's there? What is the neighborhood? The most important thing in real estate is location. What if you got a gem, a beautiful property in a bad neighborhood? Is that what you want? How are you going to sell it? So you need to learn to research. I mean, our classes, we have classes on researching the title. We have classes on looking at the property. We have classes on how to sell it. Why do we do all that? Because this is a serious business. I buy properties at auction that have values of $200,000, $400,000, $600,000. You're probably not going to start at that level, but if you're going to start with a $100,000 property and it's got $100,000 worth of problems, you don't want to do that. So you need to learn to research.
And obviously, that's something that takes a little while to do. Just as an overview, Ted, I mean, would you start at you mentioned the county office to begin researching on liens and such? Is that the only source, pretty much?
Oh, no, the research can go on forever. I mean, there's a lot of research that can be done, first of all, online. Okay, so online, you can go through all of the records. The county records are called the public records. And that means, and we teach you how to do it, how to access everything in the records. For example, does it have a municipal lien on the property because the grass wasn't cut or something like that? Does it have a mortgage on it that you don't know about? Well, mortgages and deed of trust are wiped out. But what about if it had a federal lien on it? Well, you could find those things out by researching the record. All right, now what about the property itself? Condition, I mean, most people could drive by, stop the car, look at the property, take a couple of pictures, say, well, gee, it does need paint, and there's a hole this big in the roof, and you can see those things. But you need to do all that before you buy a property, no matter whether it's online or offline.
Okay. Our next question, this comes from Janet, Ted. Janet was on LinkedIn, and Janet asks, how can I find out if a tax deed property is occupied by a tenant?
How can you find out if the property's occupied? Well, you can go knock on the door if you wanted. I mean, it's not illegal to do that. But you don't want to go start roaming around property just because it's on the auction list. You should find out. When a property's on the auction list, it probably already belongs to the county, but there might be someone in that property. From time to time, the county will not have removed the people. Now, I want to be expressive here and say, look, every county is different. There's 3,000 plus counties. Some counties are very diligent about moving the people out. Other counties aren't so diligent about it. So caution is the word here. I wouldn't go on anybody's property without knowing that it was empty. And if you don't know, well, go knock on the door. Don't start roaming around in somebody's backyard.
Hey, let me ask you, Ted, what would you suggest if I'm buying property in another city and I can't go myself to knock on the door? Who the heck could I possibly coerced to do that.
Well, I wouldn't want to coerce anybody, but what I would do is if I'm going to buy a property in a city that's foreign to where I live, which I do all the time, I'm going to hire professionals to do that. I'm going to hire real estate brokers to do comparables of values. I'm going to hire a real estate broker to go and look at the property, tell me what he could sell it for or she could sell it for. I'm going to hire other people. I might hire contractors to go, well, they might have a slight list to one side or the other. I'm going to hire every professional I can. Now, there's a lot of professionals you can hire to check out properties. You can check out neighborhoods. You can check out the property itself. You can go to the county records and tell you what comparables. In other words, what's the trend? Is the trend with the prices going up, or is the trend the prices going down? You want to look at all that stuff. Now, I can't teach it all on a quickie YouTube video, but we certainly have classes to teach all that.
Okay, well, that's good. So a broker, if I hired that, I'm out of state, they can knock on the door and make sure somebody isn't living there.
You don't want to hire some person that's not a professional. You want to have licensed people. I mean, we try to do everything, dot the I and cross the T, because we want to be professional in everything we do. Later, when you want to sell, you want to have a professional broker selling it for you the same way. We're going to use a lot of other media, but we want to do it with the pros if we can. You're going to get good answers. So what if you have to pay them? I mean, people don't work for nothing. Why should they?
Sure. Richard, who is on LinkedIn, he has a question here, Ted. How long does it typically take to sell a tax deed property?
Whoa. How long does it take? All right. One of the challenges that people are going to have when they buy property, most people don't have a clue about selling. Most people that get involved in life don't have a clue about selling. So I would say the first thing you want to do, I'm going to give you a little bit of a long answer. I'm not going to say 6 months or 3 months, something like that. I'm going to say, first thing you ought to do, before you buy it, you ought to have an exit strategy. Part of having an exit strategy would be to talk to a lot of brokers and people and find out how long it would take them to sell the property and what price. In other words, find out the pros, what they're going to do. Then I would go through the process of getting as many different media involved as I could. Now, media could be a sign on the front lawn. It could be the National Association of Realtors belonging to that and using the multiple listing system. They'll allow you to use that. It could be Zillow. It could be Trulia. It could be Craigslist. It could be a lot of ways. Find out what the prices are in the neighborhood, and that I buy property at auction. If it's a $200,000 property, I want to try and buy it for 30 or 40 cents on the dollar, way down here low. So it's priced, it's assessed way up here. Then I'm going to sell it low. I'm going to buy it low and sell it low. So that'll accelerate the sale product. Everybody's looking for a deal. So I'll buy it here. Let's say I buy it for 30 cents on the dollar, and then I'll sell it for 50 cents on the dollar. That would be my strategy. Everybody else will say, oh, you're going to leave all that margin. Yeah, but the margin, that's why people are going to buy from me, because I'm going to buy it and I'm going to sell it quickly. All right, I'm not going to say 10 days, 20 days, or something like that. And I'm going to use a lot of media, and I'm going to use professionals. All right, so that's my answer to it. It's not 5 days or 5 weeks. The people that have trouble in this business are the ones that don't have a clue about selling. So most people don't know about selling, so let's use all the professional ways we can.
That makes perfect sense, Ted. It's just basic marketing. You got to let people know about what you have to sell. So, okay, Ted, this is our last question. And this question comes from Rochelle, and she was on Instagram. Her question is this: how can someone determine if investing in tax deeds is the right strategy for their investment goals?
Wow, how can someone determine that? I don't know the answer to that. I think what you have to do is decide, are you a risk taker or not a risk taker? So let's say you're not a risk taker, then you probably want to buy tax lien certificates. Why? Because you invest with the government, you get a check back from the government. I would say that's one of the safer investments. Okay, now if you're a bit of a risk taker, or you have experience in real estate, or you have experience in similar things, then you might want to buy a property and start small and buy it as close to the back taxes as possible, and then learn how to market and resell it. But don't go buying a $500,000 property and trying to resell it when you don't know how. So I would say take the conservative approach. Make sure you get trained. It's going to take time. I'm in the training business. I'm going to tell you, I've got 30 years of doing it. I can't sell every property in 10 minutes time. But I know before I buy it what I'm going to sell it for. If you don't know your exit strategy, don't buy the property.
Well, Ted, I'll tell you what, that does it. That's all the questions we have. I want to thank you for answering all those questions, Ted. And everybody who's watching, want to thank you for sending in the questions. Ted, we have a free gift for everybody watching, don't we? A calendar?
Yeah, well, thank you. For people that are really interested and want to know more about this, you can go below me. I have what I call a magic map, interactive map and auction calendar. And on that auction calendar, it's all electronic. So you can just go to the site and you can move your cursor around and you'll see white circles on this map. And when you see the white circles on the map, that means there's going to be an auction right now. All right, so you can go to the white circles on the map and you can see how many properties are being auctioned at that particular auction. And you can also see what state it's in and whatever. So if you want to learn that kind of stuff, I have an interactive map that you can see that. You just go below me and it covers every state in the United States and every auction. Now, all the auctions aren't at the same time. They're spread out all year long. So this interactive map is updated every single day. So just go below me and you can see that. It's absolutely free.
That's a great free gift to everybody. So make sure to go below in the description, click on the link and take advantage of it. Ted, thank you again.